let's do this. Put that there. Okay. Refresh. Should be all good. 42% through part 1. Today is day 7, 1 week down. Only 51 more weeks to go. As we begin day 7 of our year of streaming and learning to code. So far, so good. We finished styling with CSS last night. What have we conquered so far? We've done what did we do? HTML fundamentals, structure, HTML content, common HTML elements, CSS fundamentals, the CSS setup, basic CSS structure and syntax, and styling with CSS, which was yesterday or last night, colors and fonts. Now we're going into organizing HTML and CSS. Should be good. Fingers crossed, hopefully. All right, we've got classes, IDs, IDs, and divs. Probably IDs and divs. All right. Here we go. 112. Let's see what they got for us. Travel like never before. Whether you're looking for adventure or luxury, let us help you plan your perfect getaway. Way cool. We've got index.html all set. CSS, looking good. Let's see what they want us to do. All right. Learn. In this unit, you'll learn about a critical skill beneficial for all web developers, organizing HTML code. Being able to clearly organize HTML code helps in the following ways. 1. Writing clear, maintainable HTML code for yourself and for other developers. 2. Venturing into more advanced CSS styling. In the last unit, you learned how to style, color, and fonts. Unfortunately, we had no way of targeting specific HTML elements. Instead, every selector we use to target. Instead, every selector we use targeted all elements of a certain type. By organizing HTML code with labels for elements, you'll learn how to style specific HTML elements at will. Let's begin. Instructions. Take a look at the code to the right. How does it differ from the previous HTML code you've written in this course? Explore some of the HTML code in the index.html file. Try deleting or adding something random. What happens? All right, there's everything has div tied to it. Yeah, lots and lots of div. Also, there's a lot more other things like .partner and .props on the CSS side. I know we're only looking at HTML for now. So, okay, try deleting or adding something at random. Cool, let's go ahead and delete the 3. Which is, why should you choose jet setter? In an attempt to destroy heading 3, let's see what happens. There goes that. Run it. Yeah, and it's gone. So what happened? It died. So let's try changing something. Let's go with getting rid of the we. Where is that we located? We don't do standardize, so under unique, we're getting rid of the we don't do standardize. Gone. That also vanished. Okay, so hopefully I don't see anything crazy. Onward. With the proper labels, we can style individual HTML elements. Am I supposed to be deleting the div? Is that what happens? We're gonna go back. I feel like something's supposed to change or isn't supposed to change. I'm just gonna get rid of you. How you like that? Yeah, I'm not sure. We're moving on next. Okay. With the proper labels, we can style individual HTML elements. Specifically, we can label HTML elements with a unique identifier or ID. We can then style that specific element in the style sheet. To label an element with an ID, we can use the ID attribute on an HTML element. H1 ID equals Botswana. H1. Okay, in the example above, the heading is labeled with an ID of Botswana. ID equals Botswana. Cool. What purpose do IDs serve? IDs are intended to label unique elements in an HTML file. No two HTML elements should ever share the same ID. That would defeat the purpose of a unique identifier. Yes, if everyone's special, then no one is. Well, that's not really quite. In this case, it's quite the opposite. If everyone is special in their own unique way, then they are all special. So, take that. Okay. Instructions. In index.html, add an ID to the div nested inside the first div element. Okay, first div element is here. The ID should be set to header text. Cool. No, don't focus on understanding the div element just yet. We'll cover it later in this lesson. Cool. Text. Run. Ah. Just kidding. That was a lie. Don't mind me. That was a trick. I was testing you all. Okay. First. And what's happening? Add an ID to the div nested inside the yes, here, the comment section. Nice. I'm blind. The ID should be set too. Don't focus on that. Okay. Cool. Why is there a space here? Add an ID to this div. I'm looking at this ID here. It just seems very odd. We'll continue. This is unsettling. Add an ID to this div. Adding. Just jump. Don't understand. Leap of faith. The div will work. So says the instructions. Okay. ID equals, in quotes, header text. I feel like it should go in there. We're gonna run it. If it laughs at us, we'll do it inside there. Yeah, it doesn't like what I'm trying to do. Nice. Okay. Ta-da, there we go. That looks reasonable. Cool. Okay. Next. Now that you know how to label HTML elements with an ID, we can style that specific element in the style sheet. In a previous lesson, you learned how to target HTML elements with element selectors like so. P, font size, font color. Remember, however, that element selector, like the one above, would target all paragraph targets. After today, we get to start submitting these. I can't wait. Need to reach out to them if they have a typo-specific selection. Okay. Remember, however, that an element selector, like the one in the example above, would target all paragraphs on the web page. In the example above, all paragraphs are styled to have a font size of 10 pixels and a font color of hashtag A091DD. To style a specific element labeled with an ID, you can use an ID selector in the style sheet. Hashtag Botswana, background color, blah. In the example above, the HTML element with an ID of Botswana is targeted with the ID selector hashtag Botswana. All ID selectors begin with the, oh wow, I've yet to encounter that word. All ID selectors begin with the octothorpe character hashtag. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with octothorpe. That is very odd. I'm gonna name my child that. Octothorpe Bordeaux. Sounds good to me. Character, hashtag or pound. The value of the ID immediately follows the octothorpe. Once you've correctly targeted the element, you can proceed to the style it uses as usual. You can proceed to the style. You can proceed to style it as usual. Dear God, it's all the bright colors thrown off my reading. Okay. Instructions. In style.css, add an ID selector for the ID text header. Style CSS. Here's that. add the ID selector to this CSS rule. Header text. I wonder if I'm supposed to do the hashtag. They made such a big deal of the hashtag for Botswana, but there's no hashtag next to all these other ones like H1 and H2. I don't think header text is going to get one. Header text. What is that? I'm just like hammering away at the keyboard on all these wrong keys. There we go. That seems reasonable. Fun? Death. Maybe it was the spacing. No. Hold the phone. Let me blow my nose. No. Hold on. My nose is tripping out. I need a tissue. But we've got bigger issues here. Only winners deserve to blow their nose. Okay. Let's see. Style sheet. Add an ID, the ID header text. I'm going to do hashtag. We're just going to see what happens. That is so weird. Why don't they have the hashtag there? And none of these have hashtags. It's very misleading, guys. Just saying. Just saying. Run. Okay. Ta-da. That counts as a win. Give me just a moment. On. Next. There's that. Hold on. Okay. There we go. All is well in the neighborhood. Much better. Now we can breathe again. Lack of oxygen was making all this thinking difficult. Okay. There we go. Section 4. Onward. Okay. IDs are great for labeling unique elements, but IDs have a limitation because unique IDs should not be used across multiple HTML elements. They are insufficient for quickly styling elements that should all share a specific style. CSS offers a solution to this limitation. For multiple elements that should share the same styling, classes can be used to label them. To label an element with a class, we can use the class attribute on an HTML element. H1 class science. Scientists discover important cure. End of H1 class scientists. New study reveals the importance of sleep. Okay, in the example above, there are two headings with a class of science. Why? HTML elements are often labeled with class names that reflect the content they represent on the web page. In the example above, perhaps a new company decided that all news headlines about science should be labeled with a class of science. Later in the style sheet, all science headlines can be quickly styled to have the same styling. Aha! So it's like a genre or a theme, and then it applies styling that way. That's really clever. That's cool. Kudos to whoever came up with that. So, good. They deserve a gold star. Okay. Onward to the instructions. In the index.html, give the second div a class of partner. Okay. Question. The second div. Are they talking about the second div as in the first set of div nestled within the first? Which would be this guy? Are they talking about the second separate? Yep. Eyes, guys. Right here. Add a class to this div. Don't mind me. The other thing, misleading, they should have this comment in here. They can still comment out the line or have that, but they should really have something going on there. Pro tip for the future. So let's get rid of you. And let's add in, we could do class and partner. Class equals partner. Get rid of extra spaces. Here we go, space free. And a shiny green check mark. Here we go. Next. Success. Now that you know how to label HTML elements with a class, we can style elements belonging to the same class at once. How exactly do you select them in CSS though? To style elements of the same class, you can use a class selector in the style sheet. .science. Font family, Georgia, blah, color, hashtag blah. No, now we know. Color, Octothorpe, however it's pronounced. A3 blah. And then text transform uppercase. Class selectors begin with a period and are immediately followed by the name of the class. In the example above, all elements with a class of science will have their typeface, color, and letter case modified. As you learn more about web development, you'll notice that it's very common to style groups of elements using classes. In fact, you're more likely to see classes more often than you'll see IDs. While IDs still play a critical role when you move into languages like JavaScript, classes are by far the most commonly used for styling groups of elements. Instructions. Scroll through style.css and add class selector for the class partner. Okay, so add one, add it here. This is why that header text had the hashtag instead of a period. This answers that. So let's also, we'll do dot partner. And wait, there's two dot partners. What the deuce? Scroll through, add a class selector or partner. Oh, partner image. Good. Gotcha. So that's the difference. Nice. Fun. Okay, run. Green check mark. Way cool. Love it. Love it. 6 of 12. Halfway through. Okay. The class selector targets all elements of a particular class. It's possible, however, for multiple elements on a web page to share a specific styling, but for one of those elements to differ slightly. For example, a heading and a paragraph, both with the class of breaking, may need to share the same typeface, but the paragraph may require a styling better suited for paragraphs, as in the following example. Dot breaking, font family, Georgia Times serif, paragraph breaking, line height. Ah, okay. Subtle, but I get it. The example above uses a new selector, P dot breaking. What's the difference between breaking and P breaking selectors? The period breaking selector targets all elements with a class of breaking. The P dot breaking selector targets only paragraph elements with a class of P breaking, or with a class of breaking. Okay. This type of selector allows you to be even more specific about a particular element's styling, even when that element must share some styling with other elements. Unless otherwise specified, the rest of this course will use the element.class selector syntax. Noted. Unless otherwise specified, the rest of this course will use element.class selector syntax. Cool. Nice. So, with that said, on to section 7. Cool. Okay. CSS does not limit you to selectors that target a single element or a class. In a previous exercise, you learned how to use multiple element selectors to style multiple elements at once. H1, paragraph. The same syntax can be used to style multiple classes at once. First, last, font size 20. Using a multiple class selector is an efficient way of styling multiple HTML elements. Instructions. Scroll down in style.css and take a look at the .prop and .partner CSS rules. They both share the same text align setting. Delete this property from both CSS rules. Next, create a CSS rule that uses two multiple class selectors at once, .partner and .prop. Inside the rule, set the text align property to center. This is one example of using a selector that targets multiple CSS classes at once. Nice. Okay. And once again, measure twice, cut once. Instructions for the second time. Scroll down in style CSS. Look at .prop and .partner. Okay. .prop and .partner. They both share the same text align setting. Text align. Text align. Delete this property from both CSS rules. Next, create a CSS rule that uses two multiple class selectors at once, .prop and .partner with the comma. Inside of the rule, set the text align property to center. Okay. So we're going to set it to, we're going to copy this. No. We're going to take this, copy, after partner, we're going to do that. Oh, wow, that's cool. All the little subtleties like that. Right. So when you do curly braces and you hit enter, it does a double space and drops it. How great is that? It's the simple things in life. Okay, so with that said, we've got partner there. We're going to be doing text align center. We can actually just delete it from here. Get rid of the space. And we can get rid of the text align from here as well, along with the space. We will run that. Ta, green check mark for Gryffindor. Look at that. Look at that. Good, good. Okay. It's also possible to label HTML elements with more than one class. How is this functionality useful? You learn elements that share a styling, e.g. typeface, are labeled with the same class. When those same elements must also be differentiated, however, labeling with an additional class is helpful. H1 class, book domestic, the way of the deep. H1 class, book foreign, a night in the sky. Okay. Dot book font family Georgia, serif, dot domestic font color blah, dot foreign font color, dot blah blah. Okay. So they're both books. We've got domestic and foreign, book and domestic. Don't mind the periods. And the spacing just comes with the territory. Okay. Trying to understand the semantics, or technically the syntax. Not too difficult. In the example above, the HTML code uses the main headings for two different book titles. In this example, all book titles must share the same typeface. So the headings are labeled with a class of book and are then styled with a typeface of Georgia. The books, however, must be differentiated based on their country of origin. To differentiate the book titles based on this information, two additional classes, domestic and foreign, are applied to their respective headings, which style the color of the heading in the CSS code. To label an HTML element with an additional class, simply include the class within the double quotes immediately after the first class. What's that? Hey, you sleepy? Yeah. Oh, you're tired. Look at you. Your tummy's warm. No, you're good. You're good. She's tired. She's totally passed out. This is what I'm staring at right now. I think, is she off camera? I think she's off camera. Yeah, she's off camera. Hold on. Kitty break. We've got... Oh, yeah. Look at you. Who's that? Who's the little cat? Right here. Oh, yeah. Do we? Yeah. That's what I'm looking at right now. That's her. She's She. There. Isn't that right? Look at Joe. So cute. Okay. We're good. We're good. We're back. Okay. What are we looking at? No. Out of OBS. Back into Codecademy. Where did we leave off? Something about labeling, right? Books, however, must differentiate. Okay. To label an HTML element with an additional class, simply include the class within the double quotes immediately after the first class. Like so. HTML elements can be labeled with many classes, but whenever possible, it's best to limit an element to 4 classes at most. Noted. Pro tip, no more than 4. Good. Instructions. In this web page, no HTML elements needs to have multiple classes. However, be aware that using multiple classes for an element is extremely common in web development. Keeping this exercise as a reference will come in handy later. They also need a bookmark tab for certain pages within exercises. I know in the end, and it's all basic, but for learning purposes, bookmarks. Don't mind me making notes. Code Academy. Spell check. Instructions and bookmark. Nice. Back in the chat. Okay. Cool. Good. Instructions. No, we already did that. Yeah, in this webpage, no HTML elements are needed. Need to have multiple classes. Cool. Good. Why is it so blank? What is... Something happened. Was that me? Did I ruin the code when they said to delete stuff at random? Pretty sure that was my fault. Or I destroyed something in CSS, but maybe nothing's wrong. Maybe I'm just tripping out. Seems wrong. Classes and IDs, okay. Section 9. Classes and IDs are useful for labeling elements, but a disorganized overuse of classes and IDs can result in an HTML file that is difficult to read. We need a way of organizing the contents of the HTML file. This will help. 1. Keep HTML code easy to read. 2. Group elements that belong together. In general, it seems like common sense is just sort of the main bullet point here. HTML offers an element that is the backbone of code organization. The div, represented by div in HTML. You can think of the div as a box or a container that groups elements that belong together. For example, a div can be used to group together all the elements that make up the navigation for a web page or any other section of a page. Each one. Alice in Wonderland. Paragraph blah blah blah. In the example above, a heading for Alice in Wonderland and a brief paragraph description of the book are contained within a single div. If more books were to appear on the page, additional divs could be used to organize them. This would keep the code easier to read, maintain, and style. So div isn't actually a thing. It's like a virtual folder, kind of, or just marker. Virtual container. Doesn't actually have an effect, so it seems. Well, despite the div. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Maybe I'm just looking for more. I think I'm just looking for more. It's a 98% chance that I'm just crazy. Okay. Instructions. Scroll down in index.html. You'll notice this bit of code sitting by itself. Image at the bottom. S3, Amazon, Oz. Cool. Nice. Found it. Okay. Enclose this bit of code with a div. Okay. That's it. Just div it up. Not too bad. Div. Do. Div. Okay. Run. Okay, even though it gives a green checkbox, what if I get rid of something and run it again? Leaves the green checkbox. Run. I wonder if there's any way to remove it. Mainly because I want to get, I feel like this is all messed up. I feel like I did something wrong, and if you get something wrong enough, they give you the code again. Like they just refresh all the code. And that's kind of what I want. We'll go on to 10. And this is supposed to have div. Wait. Death. I should have done it on the last page. There's a lot more to do on this page. And I want to do it myself to get it right. Maybe I'll leave it for the end. Hopefully at the end I'll be able to mess up the last one and then do. We'll do that. We'll do 2 out of 3. We'll type in the third one. Hopefully we get it correct. Then we'll mess it up enough to get all the proper coding back. Because this just seems genuinely wrong. But that said, back up here. Okay. 10 of 12. Alright. Now that you know how to organize code into sections using divs, we can start labeling divs with classes instead, rather than labeling individual elements with classes. This does not mean that labeling individual elements with classes is no longer useful. Even when divs are labeled with classes, there will be many other times where an individual element will need to be labeled with a class. Div, class, container, h1, blah, good, div.container, background, h1.title. Okay. In the example above, a heading and paragraph are contained within a div that has a class of container. In the style sheet, the background color and typeface of the div have been styled. Divs are intended to contain other HTML elements, not raw text. Does it make sense to style a div directly then? When a div is styled, all elements inside of the div will inherit the styling applied to the div. This example illustrates how easy it is to style sections of a web page using div. Cool. Is it div? Dive? D-I-V. I'm sticking with div for now. Note the example above uses a class called container. Chances are that you'll frequently see this class name as you learn more about web development. Okay. Give the div you added in the last exercise a class of prop. Div class equals prop. And since I deleted it, we're going to take this, copy. Actually, we can just take this. Div class prop. Div class prop. Okay. Run. 2. Notice that there are 3 divs in index.html with a class of prop. Let's organize these 3 divs into a larger containing div. Enclose these 3 divs with a div. Whoa. That has a class called value props. Okay, you've got h4, h3, div 1, 2, and 3. Notice there are 3 divs with class prop. Let's organize these 3 into a larger containing div. So one giant parent div for all that. Am I crazy? No? That seems to be where we're headed. Enclose these 3 divs with a div that has a class of value props. Okay, well, we're going to do this. Div value props. Super mega death div that ends everything in its path. Hurricane div. That's going to be the name that I'm going to submit for the next hurricane. Slash div, the end of everything. Run. Please don't break, although it's already pretty ugly. Finally, let's contain the value props div into an even larger div. Enclose the entire value props div with a div that has a class of main. Note, be sure to enclose h3 and p elements above the value. What now? Finally, let's contain the value props div into an even larger one. So we're doing the same thing, but on an even larger scale. Okay, that's fine. Enclose the entire value props div with a div class, or with a div that has a class of main. Okay, so we're going to drop it again. Note, be sure to enclose the h3 and p elements above the value props. Be sure to enclose. Where is h3? Enclose h3 and p elements above the value props div. So, drugs? What? I get that I'm doing another div class, a larger one for main. And I think they want me to put it here to contain all of that. That's what my general gut feeling tells me. However, I'm 97. I don't know if everything is going to come together. I don't know if this is supposed to be white, and if all the styling is going to come together when I add this in. Maybe I'll just do it. I'll just add it in myself for now, and fingers crossed. Well, they keep giving me green check boxes, but anywho, we'll figure it out. We will figure it out. Let's see. So we're adding in. We're gonna do it above because they said to enclose it. Div class main. Maybe gets its own div. I have no idea, but we're gonna try that for fun. Hey, look at that, and all the stuff came back. All right, what badge should I get? Okay, 25 points earned one day. Fun enough. Wow, all the stuff came back. How cool is that? We were gonna get it wrong, but it wasn't broken. I mean, it was set up that way to be broken for the exercise, so we could fix it, and we did. It's like Pinocchio. It's a real boy now, kind of. Although if Pinocchio was maimed and we had to patch him back together with novice level CSS and HTML. Okay, so it's nothing like Pinocchio, but still. We fixed it. It's all good. It's all good. Okay. On to 11. Okay, the div is one of the most commonly used elements in all of HTML. Modern web pages make extensive use of the div, and learning how to use divs for organization and styling is a critical skill for all web developers. Moving forward, this course will make more use of the divs so that you can master it and become more familiar with its important elements. Or with this important element. Instructions. Take a look at the code in index.html. You're in a much better position now to understand the code and edit it. Note that the HTML code is organized neatly with div sections. Note also that the style sheet targets divs heavily in order to make styling more efficient. Okay. Now it doesn't just look like an abomination infested with divs anymore like it did at the beginning of the session. It now makes sense. Cool. Body, main, header, H1, H3, fun stuff. We've got our classes. And with that said, partner, header, main, prop, those all get identified there in the style sheet. 1 to 12. Okay, great job. You learned how to organize HTML with classes, IDs, and divs. Let's review what you've learned so far. 1. Code is a lot more readable when it is organized using IDs, classes, and divs. 2. IDs label HTML elements that are unique to the web page, an element that appears only once. Classes label elements that will share the same styling. It makes styling more efficient. 4. The div groups elements together. It makes the HTML file easier to read by organizing the web page into logical sections. HTML elements can be labeled with multiple classes. 6. Divs are one of the most commonly used HTML elements. Understanding how they are used is a critical skill for web developers. In this unit, you learned how to organize code with IDs, classes, and divs. The remainder of the course will use these concepts extensively, so it's important to have a strong understanding of them. Take some time to experiment with your knowledge of IDs, classes, and divs in index.html and style.css. When you're done, you can proceed to the next unit. Okay. Nice. So that is basically bringing an end to our day 7 of learned code. But before we're gone, what can we do to tinker? Let's blend the categories. What happens when we do prop in here? Prop. When? No? Nothing? That's because no? There is no main prop. There is no main.prop. So we're going to change all of these. Main.prop run. And then we're going to change this. There's space. Main.prop. Now, these can be combined, but in the meantime, look at that, an abomination. Hey, we destroyed it again. Look at that. No, that was prop. This was main. Run that. We'll fix those. We had prop, and main. Well, now that makes a lot more sense on why whenever I'd open the source element, or what is it, like this, the page source, it would just be plastered with divs. See? Div. I know that's one. Plastered was probably big. Wow, this is a huge... My god. ID. Class. Lots of classes. Discovery queue. Pulse. Lots of divs getting closed out. Look at all that fun. See? We know what we're looking at. I mean, it looks like an abomination, but still. At least there's some context now. Right? Look at that. Tons of fun. Awesome. Well, I think that is a good end to the first week of streaming. 7 days consecutively. 1 whole week down. We've got 51 more weeks to go till 2018. We're coding every single day. I think tomorrow, well, let's do up next. Let's clear this out. Understanding the box model. Learn about some of the most important techniques used to organize HTML. Start just to get the ball rolling. In the last unit, you learned how to organize HTML code with IDs, classes, and divs. All of these concepts are necessary to understand advanced CSS styling techniques. An understanding of CSS is not complete, however, without a study of the box model. Alright, well, tons of fun. So we'll chip away at that starting tomorrow. Zach, where do we stand? 50% of the way through part 1, guys and gals, or whatever your preference, but code stuff. 77 points. Good times. 14 badges. Good. Hey, 4 today. 50 exercises. Fonts. 25 points earned in 1 day. Lesson complete. Way cool. Way cool. Let's get back to. So I think, see, when we do learn, we've got this. I've been going through and just doing 1 section each day, which has been fine for the first week. But I think starting tomorrow, I'm probably just gonna start coding as much as possible. Well, yeah, as much as possible, but I'm gonna try to do more than just 1 activity. The goal for the whole year is to at least complete 1 activity every single day. But I can't imagine all of Codecademy. I'm sure I could stretch all of Codecademy out through an entire year, especially if I were to just do 1 activity a day. But I'm hopeful to get through as much of this as possible, sort of sooner than later. Not necessarily as quick as possible, because look, HTML and CSS, I don't know the estimated hours, but I know I've already spent way more time than the designated amount of estimated hours just to get through the HTML and CSS. At least I think I have. So yeah, that's that. Maybe I'll be able to get through the other 50% tomorrow. Things like that, and then really start chipping away. And if there's other coding schools, but I really want to see. I don't know. I think hopefully I'll be prepared enough after going through Codecademy just to start creating other things. And then I can start pulling from things or contributing to stuff like GitHub and sort of work on personal projects more so than pursuing other schools and starting from scratch all over again. But yeah, that's basically it. A close to the end of the first week. So far, so good. And we'll be on at 6. We'll be continuing on through 6 tomorrow. the CSS box model. Sounds fun, sounds intriguing. Tomorrow, guys, on to day 8. But in the meantime, we're killing the stream for today. And look at that. You're still asleep, little kitty. That whole time. I'll need to see how long the stream was, but an hour? She's been napping for an hour. Just eyes closed, doing nothing with her life. Way to go, little cat. You're living the dream. You're living the dream.